Today, what we're going to be doing is looking a little bit more closely at the differences between coaching, consulting, and mentoring. And in addition to doing that, what I'm going to help you do is do a little bit of pre-work when you're at the stage that you're thinking you might need some assistance from a service provider so that you can make a better informed decision as you start to shop for somebody to potentially help you or your business out. I didn't even put a slide in here about me because I think pretty much everybody in the room knows what you need to know about me. Just a quick roadmap of today's presentation. First, I'm going to talk about some points to consider when we are approaching the ideas of consulting, coaching, and mentoring. I'm going to introduce you to something called the GAP framework, which is, again, is just a way to approach considering partnering with consultants, coaches, from a place of intentionality and greater awareness around the needs of your business. We're going to talk about vetting to check fit and increase your ROI when you're working with a service provider. And at the end, I hope to leave time for questions. And if I can answer them for you, I certainly will. Okay, so let's talk about some points to consider. Why can partnering with a coach, a consultant, or in some cases a mentor be a great investment? Probably seems in some ways like a pretty obvious question, right? Number one, you don't have to do it all alone. And number two, you can't be the master of every single thing in your business. The right support can shorten your growth and learning curve. So in other words, if you are looking to expand your skills and grow your business in terms of marketing or revenue or cash flow, bringing in a professional who has the qualifications and experience to help you get those things done can help you do it faster and at less waste in terms of your time, money, and your staff's effort. That outside perspective will also reveal blind spots that you as the business owner are so deep in your organization that you can't even see. They bring, like I said a moment ago, experience and frameworks to help you get up to speed more quickly. And obviously, partnering with the right professional can, at the end of the day, help you add to your bottom line. And I think we all want that. I know Amy Schield Coaching definitely does. So just a few helpful reminders as we talk about these three categories of service providers, coaches, consultants, and mentors. Number one, there's going to be overlap, okay? The most important thing that I need you to know today is that the person's title matters a lot less than the skills and experience and qualifications that they bring to the table to help you address areas of need and close gaps in your business that will help you reach your goals. These are big umbrella terms that have tons and tons of subtypes. I'm going to barely crack the can of worms on talking about the term coach. One type of support isn't always necessarily better than the other between coaching, consulting, and mentoring. It's about fit, not about the title, again. And not every coach is going to coach in the same way. Not every consultant is going to follow the same kinds of practices. And so again, it's more about individual fit versus what somebody's title says on their business card or their website. And the key, again, is matching the service provider and what they bring to the table with the needs that you need to fill in the gaps that you need to close in your business. So how do we do the groundwork to select the best type of service provider to help us reach whatever goals we're trying to reach in our business? This is a little pre-work framework that I came up with to help you plan and decide what kinds of service providers might best fit your needs. Number one, what goal do you want to achieve in working with a service provider? What areas of need in your business need to be closed or filled so that you can achieve that goal? And then finally, which partners in the marketplace have the knowledge, skills, and experience to help you fill those areas of need? So as we go forward, keep in mind that we're laying groundwork here. This is getting enough information under your belt so that you can go into these conversations, talking to a coach, talking to a consultant, seeking out a mentor, so that you're going in with enough information to make a well-informed decision, okay? Your goals, your areas of need may evolve over time as you work with somebody. That's normal, okay? So start with the goal. We're not looking for a SMART goal here. I know Jeffrey Williams loves SMART goals, right? But at this point in the process, really all we're trying to do is say, What do I hope to achieve by working with a coach, a consultant, or a mentor? What do I want to get out of it? And again, this is something that may evolve for you as you gain information, as you work with somebody, but at least know what you want to get out of it. Just saying, well, my business isn't working, that's incredibly general, okay? What about your business isn't working? So dig a little bit deeper so that you have a place to start, because what can happen if we don't identify what we want to get out of this relationship with a service provider is we say, well, my business isn't working, I don't know where to start, I don't know who can help, and so I just let it continue to not work without addressing the issues that are going on. Okay, so I want to invite everybody to take 2 minutes to discuss what's a goal that you have in your business or even in your personal life, a loose goal, right? Again, we're not going for a SMART goal. This could be something like launching a new product or service, entering a new market. Maybe you want to revamp a product or a service. Maybe you want to be a more effective leader. You want more operational efficiency in your business. So take 2 minutes and discuss what's one goal in your business or your personal life that you might benefit partnering with a service provider on. Not all at once.
I'd like to work smarter. Sometimes you set goals by definition, they have to make it attainable, especially in corporate areas, they don't get fired.
And they have date associated numeric values. Attain X at this date, and that's what measured date. Otherwise, it's just a good idea.
So we're trying to dial in the process. Hopefully we're good.
And what's holding you back?
Actually, I just come up with one. So I get to retire from the university in 27. So I have to figure out what I want to be when I grow up.
Okay.
So I still have to work for another 15 years, probably 15 years.
You get to retire? Oh my goodness, that's exciting.
I'm 27 years in right now at university, and we have an 80 and out rule.
Oh wow, okay.
Started when you were 10.
When I was 19. So by the time I turned 50, I'm 50 years and then 3 years of service. And then we have a pension system, so it makes a pension system. It sucks, I really like the job.
You like going to the office?
I would only be doing it for about 15 to 20% of my life.
Traffic slide?
About 30 more seconds, guys.
It's quite stimulating.
It's not sustainable.
How about yourself? Do you have any goals that you can use coaching for? I mean, you get a discounted rate. Does he get a discounted rate?
Oh, he gets coaching for free, but rarely taken advantage of. But it's also really difficult to get coached by your spouse. So. Okay, everybody, let's come back together as a group. Does anybody want to share a goal that they have? Anybody?
I will.
Go for it, Carrie.
So a challenge I've run into getting out and meeting with providers is, as a dietitian, providers want me to schedule pharmaceutical sales rep spots and bring their whole staff lunch or breakfast, and that's been a challenge to work through. So maneuvering through that, and I had set a goal, and I was sharing with Vinny and Daryl, that I want to collaborate and reach out to 100 providers by the end of September 2025 in the surrounding area of Lee Summit, to network and share about how my services can benefit their patients and provide that piece that, that a physician can't spend with the patient in 10 minutes, and see how that would work. But I'd be interested to see, if you've got, that was what my goal was, who that provider piece would be, like the service provider would be something I'm still working on.
So 100 providers in the space of, at this point, 4 months, right?
Yes, yep.
That is a formidable goal. Okay, thank you so much for humoring me. So we talked about goal. Next, as you prepare to seek out a coach, a consultant, or a mentor to partner with, you want to think about the areas of need that are standing between where you're at now and achieving the loose goal that you just talked about, right? So these areas of need, they can be in tons and tons of different categories. They can be interpersonal. Maybe there is conflict happening in your business. Communication issues, management issues, tactical or strategic issues, such as ineffective systems or workflows. Maybe you're not achieving the marketing results that you want. Experiential, contextual, or competency areas of need. In other words, somebody lacks the training, experience, or business context that they need to close that gap and reach that goal. And finally, cognitive, emotional, and mindset skills, which is what I do. Things like overthinking, perfectionism, fear of failure, that hold a lot of us back. So let's look at an example of what this assessing areas of needs might look like. So we have a local business who's looking to upgrade to a new CRM, okay, so their customer relationship management system. They've thought about this and they have assessed these areas of need. So number one, they're going to have to select new software. They're going to have to transition from their old software over to that new one. Their staff is going to have to get trained and up to speed on using this new CRM. The staff, they found, is resistant to new software and adopting new workflows. They have an admin who has heard this is coming and she is already feeling overwhelmed. Some of the management staff has reservations to adopting this new CRM. And the project lead who is in charge of this is newer in the position and is feeling intimidated by the scope of this project and all of the feedback that is coming at everybody. So as you can see, just looking at, oh, well, we just need to switch to a new CRM. When we really assess the areas of need there, we do have software issues, we have training issues, we have some mindset issues coming up. And by having an understanding around all of this before we even start to talk to a service provider, we're a better informed consumer so that we can ultimately make a better informed business decision, okay? And by the way, having two things in my hands is so hard for me because I talk with my hands all the time, and I don't want to chip a tooth on the mic, so I'm trying to keep my gesturing under control. So, thinking about the loose goal that you just identified, start considering the areas of need. If you're a one-person business like I am, that might be a pretty quick and easy process. If you are managing a team, or you are somebody who is an employee and the authority is above you in the business, then you're going to be looking at this from a different angle. So take 2 minutes right now and share 2 areas of need with the other people in your group that you need to fill in order to achieve that goal that you guys talked about. Go. And remember, these can be interpersonal, they can be tactical or strategic, emotional or mindset, skill-based.
So are you essentially the rancher, or are you a part of the team that just has to do their part to participate in that distribution?
Which is part of the problem.
Yes. And that hat's gonna change hour to hour.
That's always. Are these teams all within the company, or are they
Yeah.
external partners too?
Both, yeah, so for the most part, yeah. Because T-Mobile is a big corporation. So I have different pockets of business there. So I would think in terms of strategic gaps for me, there's, well, it's non-trivial.
ABC, baby.
I need to be the coach for the team.
I just realized you're like 12 plus hours in.
That's right. One that needs friends.
Personal mindset.
I guess that's a good point. It's like if you had to be outgoing and collaborative, that's not necessarily part of your nature. You have to work around such things.
Well, in my case, so I may have pockets of product engineers that aren't customer facing, so they have a
They're different.
very different bias.
Okay, everybody, about 30 seconds and then we're going to move on.
They live in their own little world, they can get away with it.
Or hide.
That too. I call those the four wall. They're little cubby.
Yeah.
They're four walls, they're little castle walls. And they never have to come out.
Yeah.
I just like
All right, everybody, let's go ahead and wrap up. Anybody want to share an area of need? A gap that needs to be closed for your goal?
Staffing.
Okay, Lauren needs staffing. Okay. So for me, a goal that I have in my business is to increase my referrals from social media. Now, that's a whole funnel thing, but one of the gaps that I had for myself is learning how to make Instagram Reels. I will be 41 in May. I am an old lady when it comes to Instagram in terms of my mindset, so I needed help with that. I needed a coach, number one, to teach me the mechanics of how do you make a reel that helps people to know, like, and trust you. How do you make sales reels, and how do you stop complaining about having to use technology that belongs to the generation after you, right? So that's one instance where I said, okay, I need some help with this. And so I found somebody to help me with that. Okay, so now we're going to talk about partnering, and this is where we're going to get into the nuts and bolts of coaching, counseling, and mentoring. Like I said earlier, there's going to be overlap in all three of these categories, so we're going to talk about some of the nuances between them. And there are providers, and I think Jeff Driscoll is a great example of coaches who are also consultants. If you think about Todd Long, he offers coaching and consulting. We have right here Carrie Skelton, diabetes educator, and she's a diabetes coach, right? So you can see just there that coaching, consulting, mentoring are not three separate silos. They're more like three piles of corn that kind of tend to blend together. And I think in analogies, and so some of them are terrible, so I apologize for that. But so we're going to start with coaching, and I'm going to do my best to define coaching because it is a huge umbrella term. Here's how I define coaching. It is building emotional, interpersonal, or practical skills through behavior or mindset development. Coaching a lot of the times takes place on a one-on-one format, so one client working with the coach at a time. There's also group coaching, and you can even run into what's called asynchronous coaching. So this is coaching that happens, emails, on a Slack channel where you're sending messages or voice memos back and forth, or even Marco Polo asynchronous video coaching, which is something that I use sometimes with my clients. So what should you know about coaching? It is a gigantic umbrella term. Coaching is completely unregulated, and anybody can call themselves a coach. Sometimes a done-for-you service provider, such as a marketing agency or an operations management agency, will offer a coaching option as a less expensive done with you. So for example, if they're going to charge you $5,000 a month to do all of your social media marketing for you, they might charge you $2,000 a month to coach you on that, and you do it yourself. So that's just one way that coaching is getting more and more ingrained into the marketplace, because those folks can spend less time on client work, make more money because I can coach 5 people in 2 hours versus spending 2 hours on one client's done-for-you marketing service. So there are tons and tons of types of coaching. I'm not going to read all of these. Just know that if you need help with something, you can probably find a coach to do it. I know coaches who are teething coaches for moms, and literally just all kinds of things. There are people who coach Etsy sellers. There are people who coach salon owners who have multiple locations. So coaching is very, very niche specific. If you are considering partnering with a coach, I would ask them where they fall on this coaching continuum. So when we look at coaching, they are doing a combination of skills and action, in other words, what to do, and cognitive or emotional coaching, who you're being, how you're showing up. Ask that coach where they fall on that spectrum, because that's going to inform how they will help you. So for example, a coach who coaches mostly on skills and action, their clients, their ideal clients, are going to say, my mindset's pretty good, I just need somebody to tell me what to do and to help me course correct when I need to. For somebody like me, who is a cognitive emotional coach, my ideal clients say, I know what I should be doing, but I'm getting in my own way. I'm too afraid, I'm too overwhelmed, I'm too much of a perfectionist to actually get the things done that I need to do, okay? And a lot of coaches fall somewhere in between these two, but ask your coach, where do you fall on this, and what is your coaching philosophy? Okay, consulting. Generally, consulting is designed to solve a problem by providing expert recommendations, audits, or advising on strategy. Consulting can be project-based. Consultants can also be on a retainer basis, or they can serve someone on an advisory basis. What to know about consulting? Similarly to coaching, it's a really broad field. Consultants generally are going to collaborate with their clients to identify and solve problems in their business. So like we did the G and the A parts of the GAP framework, where we laid a little bit of groundwork. What is my goal? What are my areas of need? Your consultant is really going to help you flesh those things out. Consultants may offer coaching, but their primary focus is going to be on the business, versus a coach's purpose or focus is on the individual. Anybody have any questions on that? No, okay. So again, there are many types of consulting. We have a number of different consultants in the chamber. Kevin Oldham with DeFactory is a great example of a consulting firm. We have Fired Up Coaching and Consulting. They do educational consulting. And sustainability, compliance, there are, again, if you need a consultant for it, you can probably find one. Let's talk about mentoring. So coaching and consulting generally are going to be marketplace services. That means they're going to be paid services. Mentoring sometimes is going to be a paid service, but not always. So the purpose of mentoring is to offer perspective, encouragement, and wisdom that's based largely on experience. Mentoring can be formal through, for example, an employee-sponsored mentorship program. It can be informal based on a relationship that you have with somebody in the community. It can be paid through a strategic mentor or through an expert-led mastermind. Anybody ever been part of a paid mastermind in here? I've been part of a few in my day. What to know about mentoring? Again, it's experience-based guidance based on perspective and support. So a mentor isn't necessarily someone who is going to come in and help you fix a problem like a consultant would. They might. If they do that, you should probably take them to lunch at least once, because that's a really nice mentor, right? But they are more of a supportive and advisory role versus somebody who's going to come in and help you fix things. While mentoring relationships might often be informal, they still benefit from having clear boundaries and expectations. And really they're ideal for navigating transitions in your career and when you're in uncharted territory and when you're looking at bigger picture growth. So where can you look for a mentor? I was hoping that the writing on the screen would be larger than it is, but it's not. So when you're looking for a mentor, there are actually tons of places that you can look. Number one, your professional organization. Bruce Stansberry, CPA. I'm sure there's a CPA organization. They might have a mentoring program, or you might be able to find a mentor there, Bruce, if you're looking for a mentor. Business organizations, trade organizations, again, corporate programs, leadership development programs like Leadership Lead Summit, great place to connect with people who could be a potential mentor. Informal connections in the community with former bosses or colleagues. Strategic masterminds, like I said earlier. Alumni networks can also be a great place to look for a mentor. Clubs like the Rotary Club, Lions Club, Optimist Clubs, and again, paid masterminds can also be a great place to find a mentor. Let's talk about some tips for a healthy relationship with a mentor. Number one, a mentor is not all-knowing and they can't help you address every single area of your life. So just know what you're looking for out of a relationship with a mentor and have realistic expectations for how often and how much they're going to be able to help you. If you start a relationship with a mentor, be prepared. Ask questions. Plan to take action based on your conversation so that the next time that mentor comes around, you can discuss the results of your prior conversation rather than, yeah, I did that, or yeah, I was gonna do that and I didn't do it. Respect their time, obviously. Keep your conversations focused and be mindful of their boundaries, both their time boundaries and also the questions you ask. A mentor may not want to answer some questions in terms of trade secrets or their own personal experience and that kind of thing. So just please be sensitive to the questions that you're asking. And most importantly, offer value back to your mentor. Even if mentor-mentee relationship feels one way, it should absolutely be a two-way street. So if you seek out a relationship with a mentor, ask yourself, how can I bring value to this person? How can I help them achieve their goals? Who do I know that my mentor might benefit from meeting? What connections can I help them make? Just a couple of stories around mentorship. So let's see, this is 2025. At the end of 2023, I found myself coming on to 2 different boards of directors here in Lee Summit. And I was a life coach who previously worked for the federal government for 14 years, and I had 0 experience being a member of a board of directors. And so I thought about who in the community would have a really great perspective that I would want to hear in terms of how do I do this well? And so I called Laura Maxwell, invited her to coffee, and she very graciously gave me about an hour of her time, and we talked about how do you be a good board member? What has worked for you? What challenges have you run into and how did you overcome them? So I created a little micro mentoring session there for myself with somebody in the community who I trusted and who had done some of the things that I would like to do as a board member for the organizations that I now serve. Another great story. So I think it was December of last year, Matt, when Sarah and Rhodey Taylor talked at Recess for Success, and Rhodey was talking about the early days of Casey Dumpster and how he invited, and I don't remember who it was, but the owner of a successful sanitation company here in Kansas City found out what the guy's favorite breakfast place was and just started inviting him to breakfast every Saturday morning. And he created his own mentor-mentee relationship there by reaching out to somebody in the community whose footsteps he wanted to follow in and bringing value to that person by buying him breakfast and asking him questions to help Rhodey build his own business faster and smarter. So this is a side-by-side comparison of coaching, consulting, and mentoring. I'm not going to read through the entire chart, but just know that when we're talking about coaching, the focus is typically going to be on the individual and helping that person develop skills, competencies, and mindsets. Consultants are going to be focused more on organizational problem solving and strategy. They may certainly offer some coaching and vice versa, but generally they're not going to be focused on the individuals, they'll focus on the organization. And mentoring is really about wisdom and guidance. And a lot of times these three things get lumped together, coaching, consulting, and mentoring. And in some ways, mentoring is kind of in its own category, in my opinion, just because it is much more relationship-based than coaching and consulting. Not that they don't involve relationships, but when we're talking about a mentorship, you are developing a very deep connection with that person, hopefully over a fairly long period of time. So let's talk about matching the right area of need to the right type of support. So we talked about your goal. You thought about a few areas of need that you might have in relation to that goal. So what kind of support might be appropriate? If you're looking for ongoing perspective and wisdom, maybe that's a job for a mentor. If you are looking to build skills or change your mindset, maybe an opportunity for a coach. If you're looking at refreshing systems or switching strategy, a consultant might be the way to go. So let's take a look at our example from earlier with our local company who's looking to change CRMs. What service providers might fit these areas of need? And the answer here is that for some of these, there's more than one answer. Selecting a CRM and transitioning to that new CRM, that might be a great role for a consultant. Exactly, Mike. Staff training needs. Guess what? The CRM may do that in-house. They may have a training specialist who takes care of all of that training and handles it so that the business doesn't have to deal with that. But a consultant may do that too. A coach may do that. If we're talking about staff resistance to new software and workflows, that could be a coach or perhaps a consultant as well. Admin overwhelm. Give the admin a vacation day. I don't know, right? but maybe that's an appropriate opportunity for coaching. And if you have a skilled manager or a skilled leader in your organization, maybe that person would be adequate to coach that admin through the overwhelm, right? So we don't always even necessarily have to look to hire outside of our organizations to fill all of these areas of need. Some of this we can do in-house. If we're looking at management reservations, same thing. That might be something that the consultant can address as a group. That might be something that managers can coach one another on, or maybe you bring in a coach. And then finally, that new project lead who's feeling intimidated, that person might benefit from some mentorship. Okay, so now that we've talked about coaching, consulting, and mentoring, discuss with your table mates what type of providers might be a good fit for one or two of your areas of need in relation to your goal.
So maybe you could find some of those trains catalog. That's essentially my position.
Yeah.
Wrangle cats. I don't know, for me, my preference would be consultants. Maybe take one of those standardized tests or something to figure out through abstract questioning whatever we truly want to do without the front of my brain getting in the way.
Yeah, that's not trivial. Because in some cases you have very hard.
You do, but sometimes in front of your brain will I'm really good at picking up the meaning of questions.
Sure.
So I know what they're looking for. I can tend to actually answer the way they want me to, as opposed to it being designed as a true, I don't know what the term is. But unfortunately, the front of my head is too smart to use. So I really had to find one that's very abstract and just let go of the front of my brain, just answer the questions honestly. Sometimes it's hard. Because the front of my brain is something that the back of my brain doesn't. I should listen to the back of the brain.
We've had a lot of coaches come in for sales training in the past, external, helping with sales strategy, closing. gaps we had in the team. We haven't had that for a long time.
Has the money kind of dried up, or just management kind of?
No, it's just we're so television. Money is not the problem. And we used to do annual sales update on January. Everyone sits down. This we have the year behind us. This is what's that looking this year. And that we cut back because we were spending millions for the company to do that.
Coach.
Product
Figure out where you're going. No, you're spending
Okay, everybody, about 30 more seconds, and then we're going to wrap it up here. Okay, so we're going to wrap up by talking about some questions to consider before you agree to work with a service provider. And then we're going to talk about some things to watch out for. So number one, what results do you help your clients achieve? Who is your ideal client? What's your process, and how will I know if it's working? What is outside your scope that you do not help with? These are important questions because if you are misaligned with your service provider, it's probably going to cost you time and money to figure that out. People qualify me all the time. They say, "Are you a business coach?" No, I'm not. "Oh, so are you a therapist?" No, mental health is outside my scope, and I make that very clear. How do you measure success? What kind of time, money, and energy can I expect to invest, not only when I'm working directly with you, but when I am implementing whatever you teach me or whatever changes that we decide are going to be made? And finally, what happens if it's not the right fit? Because sometimes you don't discover that a coaching or consulting relationship isn't the best fit for you until after you're already in it. And so you want to make sure that you understand in advance how that professional will potentially handle that. Service provider red flags. Now, I want to qualify this by saying that if somebody does one of these, it doesn't necessarily mean no, don't work for them. But if these start to add up, then it might be time to talk to someone else. Number one, somebody who's vague about who or how they help. They don't have a clear process, niche, or outcome. Service providers who make big promises without any context. In other words, if they say things like 10x your revenue in 30 days or your money back guaranteed. Personally, I would run in the other direction. Cookie cutter methods. People who have a one-size-fits-all solution that they want you to adapt your business to instead of the other way around. They have a solution, a framework that they tailor and customize to you and your needs. Someone who doesn't have a track record of testimonials, case studies, or credentials. I know plenty of awesome coaches who have no formal coach training, but they have the experience and they have the client testimonials to back it up. People who have blurry boundaries. They don't ask you to sign a contract. They make therapy-like claims or they overshare. If a coach asks you to sign a contract or a consultant, please read the contract first so that you know what the terms are going in. In terms of claims, I'll share a really quick story. So one of my earliest paid coaching clients sent me an email after her 4th session. And she said to me, Amy, I have gotten more out of 4 coaching sessions with you than I got out of 18 years of therapy on and off. Now, on the one hand, that's an amazing testimonial. On the other hand, you won't see that on my website. You won't see it on social media. And I didn't even put the text on this slide. Why? Because number one, mental health is a regulated industry. My coaching is not comparable to mental health. Number two, that would attract people to my business who are not my ideal client. And so I am incredibly careful about the claims that I make about the service that I provide. And good service providers generally operate that same way. And finally, folks who come with pushy or evasive sales tactics. You feel pressured to make a decision. They hide their pricing, or they're evasive or dodge questions about processes and costs. So, recap of the GAP framework. Number one, what goal do you hope to achieve by working with a service provider? Number two, areas of need that need to be closed that you can see from where you're at now to achieve that goal. And number three, what type of partner might be the best equipped to help you close those gaps and meet that goal. If you do all of these things up front, you're not going to instantly know, and more things may come up, but you will be approaching conversations with coaches, consultants, and mentors as a better formed individual in business so that you can find the right partner faster. And just a reminder, the title somebody uses is a lot less important than the skills and experience that they bring to the table to help you close the gaps in your business. Thank you so much for your time, everybody. That's what I have for you. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask, and I will answer them the best that I can.